Hello, everyone. Mark Thompson here in my superhero lair for another episode of The Conversation. Really excited to talk to Xander Schultz. Xander Schultz is going to talk to us about a refugee situation that has run amok in Greece. There was a huge fire, and we'll get to that story in a second. But Xander's also involved in a couple of other organizations that he's gotten rolling, and they're really exciting as well. So, Xander Schultz, welcome to The Conversation.
Thank you, brother. It's an honor to be here.
I mentioned the refugee situation in the refugee camp. Let's start with it. I guess it really doesn't matter where we start, but let's start with that just because I did mention it. And I mentioned what a mess it is and in a way, a human tragedy. But this is not like the human tragedy, the refugee story that you've maybe heard before. There are a lot of moving parts here that are new and extraordinary.
Yeah. I mean, look, no matter where we start, I have some bit of foresight into where our conversations are going to head. It's all a symptom of the same issue, which is neglect and apathy for other folks, whether they're in our own country or folks, that need help. Refugees are by definition people fleeing conflict zones, looking to start anew. And the degree in which they've been neglected, especially as they cross into these EU states, Greece and Italy, I can speak on Greece in particular, is shameful. And most recently, a refugee camp called MORIA refugee camp based in Lesbos was incinerated. It burnt down on September 9th, leaving, it's Europe's largest refugee camp, and it's left 13,000 refugees, about 5,000 children homeless. And right now,
did they ever figure out the cause of the fire? Not that it matters, but I'm just curious. Was it a arson fire?
It's unknown. So in the past, there had been fires as protests. The refugees in this particular camp had been in lockdown since March, and there was COVID in the camp over the last couple of weeks, and there's very little being done about that. So there have been protest fires in the past. There's also like a theory that a right-wing group started. So it's unknown. Okay. And all I know is the speculation about it, but the official cause is unknown.
And as you say, I think 13,000 people, is that what you said, were there or something on that order?
13,000 people in the camp. Luckily, no one passed away in the fire. And those folks are now finding themselves in a temporary camp about a mile away from where this camp was, MORIA.
And these are refugees from Syria, primarily Syria and Afghanistan. Where are they from?
Yeah, so my wife and I, our organization's been working in Lesbos since 2015. And, right around 2015, 2016, the majority of refugees were fleeing the Syrian conflict. Now about 2/3 of that population is Afghan. But Lesbos in particular serves a really interesting role in the refugee crisis. It's only 4 miles away from Turkey's border. It's not where you would consider Greece proper, and serves as the primary entry point to people fleeing into the European Union. So you have, I think that there's something over 50 different nationalities that we're calling MORIA home.
And I should just, for the record, say the organization is called When We Band Together. That's the name of your organization.
Yeah, When We Band Together, WWBT.
Right. Yeah, WWBT. And that's the one so active and where the work and the real heavy lifting is done in these refugee camps. So I want to leave the refugee situation for a second. We can come back to WWBT in a second, but now I want to get to a couple of other things that you're doing, just so I don't neglect anything in our conversation. You're back in this country now, and you've started another organization to try to drive some political change.
Yeah, I mean, so my wife and I spent January out in Lesbos, in the camp in MORIA, seeing the conditions out there and seeing how much suffering was unnecessary and was due to policy. It's not like a hurricane is hitting these places and, we're all doing our best to get organized and support people while they get on their feet. A lot of the refugees in this camp have been there 1 to 2 years, and it's just due to policy. It's lack of political will. We're allowing people to suffer over time. And so, I came back.
Can I ask a naive first world question?
Yes.
Which is, what is the life of a child or other person, however you want to tell the story, the profile of what that life is like, as best you can condense it for us through the course of a day, week, month, and then a year?
Man, it is at this particular refugee camp, it's not great. not too different than our policy over here on the border. You've seen a policy in Europe to make these camps intentionally miserable, so the word gets out to not come that direction. And so MORIA in particular, the BBC had called it the worst refugee camp on earth. There's a complete lack of programming. You were in food lines for several hours. The shelter wasn't good enough, and a lot of people were incredibly cold at night. It was not designed in a thoughtful way where you had a lot of intercultural violence. It's to be expected when you put people in those types of circumstances. There was open sewage, et cetera. And so, if you're a child in that setting, most people weren't in school. Most children weren't in school. That's what you're exposed to. That's what you're exposed to, and that's the degree of daily trauma you're exposed to. So our organization, our attempt at trying to minimize that experience was to rent warehouses that surround this refugee camp and turn them into community centers. So we had one that was a women and children's center where we partnered with Team Humanity, and we were on our way to creating a sports and wellness center that's now being served as a HQ for the Red Cross right now in Lesbos. We partnered with them and allowing them to serve as HQ. But yeah, man, it is the day-to-day is rough and unfortunately intentionally rough.
You're remarkable, though. It's sort of there's something of a magician in the ways you've pulled support together in some of these places, Xander. Now take me to this One for Democracy organization that you just kicked off.
Sure thing. So if you look at my LinkedIn, it says I work as an entrepreneur in residence at a family office. I work at Mike Novogratz family office, and our job as part, as a piece of the foundation, is to spin off initiatives that really advance social justice. And so One for Democracy was started as an observation that while every powerful progressive was saying Trump was the worst thing on earth, folks weren't going all in. They weren't going big. And why was that? One, there wasn't a great call to action to go big. Two, it can be complex and confusing on how to go big in elections in ways that are grounded and hyper effective. There's $8 billion going into the election. People are wondering even when you're, a billionaire, what's my million going to do? $8 billion, when I throw it in there. And so we wanted to create both a call to action, which is 1% of your net worth going towards this election, and ways in which you can diversify and do good and be impactful. And so we created funds, one being called the Justice Fund, which allowed donors to invest in 20 plus Black-led community organizers in the swing states. We have a Latinx fund, and we would put together, many funds based on, look, our stance wasn't, we're not going to tell you how to go big. You want to go big. We're going to help you do it in the most effective way that calls to you. So if you're worried about voter protection, we'll help you get that done. If you're worried about marginalized communities, and a lot of people were in the wake of the George Floyd killing, we'll help you go big there in a way that's effective. So
you meet with these high net worth type people and ask them for 1%?
Or more. We'll take more too, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah. And, a lot of it now is not, I don't want to put too much credit on our plate, because a lot of it is these donors became donor organizers, and they're going to their communities and saying, like, look, we're all saying in our private circles that we're facing a disaster here. We're facing down fascism. We're facing down a sociopathic leader. We need to do something and go big. This is what I've done. Will you come in with me? So now it's got a life of its own, far beyond, the original folks that thought of this thing. It's been really inspiring to see how people have leaned in.
You're right about that. Certainly this moment in time has created an imperative, probably, that many are responding to in ways that they probably and likely may not have had a history of responding to in the past. I want to ask you, before we run out of time, about another organization, Defeat by Tweet. Tell everybody about Defeat by Tweet.
Yeah, this one's fun. And if you're pissed off every time you read Donald Trump's tweets, this can be the medicine you need. So our initiative, defeatbytweet.org, we allow folks to donate a penny or two every time Trump tweets to a syndicate of Black-led organizers in the swing states. And so as of this morning, last time I checked, we'd raised about $2.3 million. We're donating about $2,500 per tweet collectively. We have about 37,000 monthly donors or per tweet donors, and we're ramping up from there. So we're moving about $60,000 to $100,000 a day right now, depending on how much our friend over in the Oval Office is feeling inspired or angry.
So when he has a big tweet night, that's a great night for you.
I'm telling you, however you feel about Trump's tweets, I think I can make an assumption on how you feel about them. You get to start ignoring the content and just enjoying the volume of it. So those days that used to be so triggering for me, where I'd wake up and it'd be like, oh God, this guy, look what he's throwing out into the world. You're like, man, great, that was $50,000 to Black-led political C4 organizations, traditionally some of the hardest organizations to fundraise for, and we're giving them the money they need to organize and get their communities to turn out.
Tell us all how we can follow this. Defeat by Tweet, One for Democracy, When We Band Together. How do we follow these organizations and support them?
I mean, Instagram works really well for When We Band Together, at When We Band Together, and at Defeat by Tweet. That's how you follow them on Instagram. Twitter as well for Defeat by Tweet. It's only appropriate we have a Twitter account, I assume. And then onefordemocracy.org. Look, if you're a wealthy individual, you're looking at the situation, you think you need to play a role in it, which I think most folks do. This is a great way and an easy way to help activate you. So onefordemocracy.org, there's ways you can get involved. You'll see it on the website. And, not only do we want you to lean in, we need you to lean in.
Xander Schultz, what a pleasure, man. I mean, it's humbling almost to talk to someone who's devoted so much of their life to trying to make a difference and doing it in creative and different forums and on different platforms. Wow.
Man, back at you, the Young Turks. You guys are always leading the conversation. It's awesome to be on here. And it's really like the work you all are doing just by hosting me here, and the work you guys always do is so important, man. Journalism it's been such an interesting year watching all this go down and journalists be attacked. This is where the conversations get started. This is how folks find out about initiatives like this. So you all are doing heroes work for sure. It's an honor to be on here.
I certainly hope that's true. And I do think the truth is one of those things that's an endangered species right now. So it is great to be part of an outfit like TYT that gets it out there. But again, 100%. Xander, we look forward to checking in with you and continued success from you. So all the best, man.
Thank you so much, man.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.